In the last video, we explored bins and custom bucketing using calculated fields. In this video, we'll be adding textual callouts on a chart to add context and draw attention to important areas. When we publish a chart, sometimes we need to answer the immediate questions right on the chart. Questions like, what's that spike in the trend, or why is that an outlier, are easily handled by annotation and make you look good since you've already thought through and answered your audience's most pressing questions. So let's create this scatter plot with an area and mark annotation to illustrate this capability. Something that might be interesting to know in the context of this dashboard is which customers are unprofitable and what kind of discount they're getting. A scatter plot will help us show the distribution and highlight any outliers. Let's start by dragging weighted discount to columns and margin to rows. And then add customer name to labels. This will disaggregate our 1 point into each customer. Let's also drag that set we created, customers with less than 5%, onto the color. So now we can see which customers received less than 5% discount or greater than 5% discount on their first order. So a couple things stand out. First, who's this guy Bradley that we're apparently paying to take our product from us? This could be a data issue, which we would still need to address, so let's make sure that our audience knows to investigate this account and either fix the data or fix the relationship. So we'll right-click on Bradley's circle, go to Annotate, and choose Mark. The annotation we'll make on this mark is Investigate, and let's make it bold and red and large. So now no matter where we drag this, it's still pointing at that point. Now you may have noticed there were 3 types of annotations: marks, points, and area. What we just did was annotate a mark, which you'll remember Tableau defines as an element that's drawn on the viz. This uses a combination of a text box and an arrow to point at the interesting mark. You can format and control the formatting by right-clicking on it and go into Format. You can change the thickness and color of the line, even the line end if it's an open arrow or a dot. This annotation will stay with the customer even if the data changes over time, and will disappear if the customer ever disappears from this graph. The second type of annotation is a point annotation, which instead of being tied to a mark, is tied to an intersection of the X and Y axis. So we can make a point annotation independent of the presence of marks. So see, we can't create a mark annotation here because there was no mark to annotate, but we can annotate a point. And that's tied to that XY coordinate. We'll go ahead and remove this for now. And the last type of annotation, area annotation, is simply a colored semi-transparent square with a text box, which allows us to highlight an area instead of a single point. So let's make one now by right-clicking on the sheet, choosing Annotation, Area, and let's call this Above Average Discount, but Negative Profit. Make it red and bold again. And now we've got a box we can drag out to the appropriate areas on the viz. And from here we can move the text by moving the left dot. And we can also color the background by right-clicking and formatting. Control the shading. Maybe we want to make it red, mostly transparent. So now this area is covering our above average discounts and our negative profitability. Remember, you can create annotations on any type of chart, not just the scatter plot. So let's go ahead and put what we have so far onto a dashboard. We'll start by creating a new dashboard. Change the size 1200 by maybe 550. We'll start by dragging out a vertical container and then throw our bar chart into that vertical container. And then below this we want our funnel chart we haven't made yet next to our scatter plot and then our box and whisker plot. So since we want them to align horizontally, let's drag a horizontal container into this vertical container. We'll drag our box and whisker and our scatter plot inside this container but to the left. So to recap, three types of annotation are mark, point, and area. Mark annotation is a text box with an arrow pointing to a piece of data on the viz. It will move with the mark or disappear if the mark is no longer shown. Point annotation is a text box with an arrow pointing to an XY intersection on the viz, independent of any marks. Finally, area annotation is a shaded box with a label drawn on top of the chart. So now that we've covered annotation, the final viz we'll create for this dashboard is a funnel chart, which is very useful for demonstrating flow or conversion through a defined series of events. See you in the next video.